that this meeting is now being recorded. It is Tuesday, December 28th, 2021. The time is about just past 12 noon, and this meeting of the Central Plymouth County Water District Commission will begin. So the meeting is being conducted remotely in accordance with the government order suspending certain provisions of open meeting law. Questions and comments from those who are attending the meeting today will be welcomed at appropriate points throughout the agenda. You can use the raise hand, chat, or Q&A features in Zoom if you'd like, or if you're joining by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. All votes will be done by roll call to ensure count accuracy. And we'll do a quick roll call before we start. So Joanne Zygmunt here, Mark Sotier.
Here.
Here, and we don't have yet Jack. Okay, so with two commissioners present, we do have a quorum. So we can kick off with our first item, which is approval of minutes from Tuesday, November 30th, the last meeting that we had. Mark, did you have a chance to look at those?
I did.
Any questions or? All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that. All in favor, Joanne, aye.
Mark, aye.
All right, minutes are accepted. Great. Frank, over to you for the finance report and invoice approval.
Great. Actually, this month, although you've approved invoices at the last meeting, they by the time they went out, they just haven't been cashed yet. But rest assured, we have paid everything up through the last meeting. But this meeting, we only had interest earned. The total bank balance, which matches our statement, is $502,092.54. The only invoice that was submitted was from ESS Group. I forwarded it out to the commissioners. It did look appropriate to the chair and to Kim, and that is an invoice from ESS Group. And I'm just looking for that amount. It was the one that I attached to the commissioners. Here it is. And that was a total of $8,991.97, which with your approval and with your sent via email, we will have paid.
Okay, so Mark, do you have any questions?
I do not.
No, so Frank, you just need a motion to approve that invoice, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
All right, and I will second. So all in favor, Mark?
Aye.
Joanne, aye.
And that's it for the finance report, Chair.
Awesome. Thank you, Frank. All right, so update on the water quality monitoring project at Silver Lake. Kim, I think I'm going to hand it over to you to kick us off on this.
Thank you. So ESS has updated their cost estimate. They provided a budget. They've also updated the sampling and analysis plan and the QAP. And I've received those. I'm in the process of reviewing them and are going to provide ESS comments on those documents. A couple things that I just wanted to flag for the commission. One is, as the documents are written now, they reflect the sampling plan that was originally on the table. And since the last meeting, we decided to expand the period of sampling to cover the growing season. And so the cost estimate has been adjusted to reflect that. And that the reason for that is that it makes the study more sound study. It captures that critical period. A number of the commenters had flagged that for us. So what I'd like to recommend is that the documents be updated to reflect the fully executed plan that we intend to put in place. Because I think it's going to be confusing to the public if we publish the SAP based on what we had planned to do, not what we intend to do. So that's one recommendation. The other recommendation is that we've had a chance to go through and drill into the comments that have been received to date from the public. And the 90% of those comments have been addressed through the revised sampling and analysis plan and QAP. However, there is a few that are related to numbers of locations of sampling, particularly on the groundwater side, and also some of the parameters that are being tested for. And so Matt and I would like to have the opportunity to just go through those comments again and ensure that if we need to add additional locations or parameters, that that's built into the full program that we intend to implement. And the reason for that is to ensure that the comments were evaluated and addressed as appropriately as possible. And so I'm going to stop there for a minute and just see if there's any questions on
Kim,
that.
on that, let me just say, the caller with the number 521, Jack, is that you? You have to, oh, Jack, is that you?
This is me. Yep. It keeps muting me as soon as I unmute, but I'm here.
You're here. Okay, so we have Commissioner O'Leary joining us as well too. So Jack, did you just hear everything that Kim said?
I did. Yep. It makes sense
Okay.
to me, but
Okay. So it sounds like the first decision then is when do we want to release the QAP and the SAP? And from my point of view, it makes sense not to put those out until they're the actual final versions of them, because I think that's confusing. Mark, Jack, do you guys agree with that, or do you think differently?
I agree.
And
I
Jack?
agree.
Okay, so
I
that's an
agree.
easy decision. Super. The next decision is remind me, Kim. So basically, I think what you're suggesting. So two things. So first, I think the commissioners, or my opinion is, I think that because we did take the time to get folks to provide their comments, and we did get some detailed comments back from some of our stakeholders in the region, I think it is not just a courtesy, but I think it's really a requirement that we address those directly and either say, this is how we took your comments into consideration, or why we didn't take those up in the QAP and the SAP. So I think putting a little extra time and effort into being fully transparent on those and providing responses is worth the extra time and effort. But Mark, Jack, what do you guys think?
If I could, Chair, if you promoted Commissioner O'Leary, I don't have that authority today.
Oh, I think I already did, Jack. Frank, he's on. He's on the phone, 521.
I'm here. Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. If there's any background noise, let me know, and I can just mute it right in my truck, and then you won't have to go through the exercise of doing it from there. But
okay, so far so good.
Yep.
What do you think
good.
about that, Jack? While you're on, about actually providing people feedback on their comments and making it transparent what the decision on them was?
I agree. I think it's very important that people if someone is taking the effort to get involved in this, they should be responded to, and we should listen to them. That's pretty much how these things go anyways on other state filings. Some comments might be addressed collectively if a number of people made the same comment, but otherwise we do owe them a response.
And Mark, what do you think?
I agree. I think it'll discourage participation if they're not heard and responded to. So yes, I agree.
Okay, so it sounds we're like in agreement on that as well. So Kim, with the keeping in mind that some of the comments included suggestions for additional locations and changes or additions to various parameters, as well as the seasonal extension, I know that ESS provided us with an estimate for the extension as well as the additional phosphorus loading. So would it be best, Matt, Kim, if we took this up at the next meeting and you guys can revise that? Or what do you want us to consider at this meeting? Or do you want us to set a cap and say, tell us what you can do within this amount?
Matt and I just talked about this and we thought it would be, it would keep the project moving forward if we could set a cap. Right now, I think, Matt, your estimate's around 216, 217.
That's correct. Yep.
If we put a cap of, say, like 230, that would give us a little bit of wiggle room to kind of work out the kinks and, you know, make a decision. Do we want to add more locations or not? And also we need to update the QAP and the SAP so that it reflects the full program, and ESS needs some budget for that. So we thought that if the commission was comfortable, you know, we have a firm 216 with, you know, potential to go up to 230 if we need to add more in. And ESS, Matt, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but ESS said that they were comfortable with that and that they felt like that would be adequate. If we could get a vote on that number, then we could be prepared at the next meeting, which if you want to have it a month from now, we'll certainly be ready by then. But if you wanted to also build in another meeting, we could report out what the final numbers are in 2 weeks, if that would be helpful. And then on a parallel path, we would update the documents because I figured that it would be really helpful if Matt and I could just work out the details and not worry so much about the exact number at this point. And by voting on the cap, that would allow us to move forward and get all the documents in sync with one another.
So that means that if we've got, so how much have we paid out, Frank, to ESS to date? It was $8,000 roughly, this invoice.
I'm looking, hold on, Chair.
Okay. Well, Frank's looking for that. So, and the 230 would include the money that's already been paid out, right?
Yeah, I think
Is
that's
the
a
idea.
project cap.
Yep. Okay.
So the
So-
additional, there was an additional, I think it was around 50,000 to expand the program into the summer months in 2022. And then, so what we're saying is, could we just add a buffer of about 15 on top of what's already been requested? Just in case if there's anything that comes up in the interim as we go through these comments and we sort of work through whether we need to add additional locations or analytes, you know, we have the budget to cover it and we're not in this position of having to wait to get that approved before we can move forward with changing the documents. And, you know, it's more of a timing issue right now.
I would just say that this is very clear, and I don't think we need to keep talking about it. I think we can either approve it or not at this point.
And Chair,
Yeah.
you've spent so far approximately $52,000, including today's invoice.
Okay.
It's been authorized in through today.
So if we do a 230 cap, that means we've still got roughly 180 to pay out of our $493,000 budget. So it's about half, less than half of what we've got in the piggy bank right now. So I feel comfortable with doing that. Mark, sounds like you are as well.
Yes, I am.
And Jack?
I'm comfortable too.
Okay, so do I have a motion to set a project cap at $230,000?
I will
So moved.
present that motion.
Okay, so we've got all in favor, Joanne, aye.
Jack, yes?
Mark, aye.
Super. So so the cap is at 230. Do you guys want to, would we delay anything by keeping our meeting? So right now our next meeting is scheduled on the, let's see, January 18th at 12 noon. Would we delay anything if we left that meeting at that time, or does that work for you and for you, Matt and Kim?
Was the 18th of January?
18th of January at 12 noon.
So we would want to get you all the documents ahead of that meeting so you'd have a chance to take a look at them, correct?
Ideally, yeah.
Yeah, so Matt, I guess that kind of comes back to you. Do you feel we'd be able to update everything in that time frame, or do we need more time for that?
Just looking at the calendar right now. I think
Chair,
the 18th is a Tuesday, if I'm.
Yeah,
Understood.
Chair, originally I had the last Tuesday, which was the 25th for the next meeting. Is
Yeah.
that something that you wanted to change?
Mark, Jack, did you guys say the third Tuesday or the last Tuesday?
I honestly don't remember,
I don't
but either
remember.
one is fine with me.
Either is fine with me as
Yeah,
well, too.
Likewise, pretty sure I'll be able to do the 25th.
It
Okay.
sounds like the 25th is going to give them a little more buffer
Better.
time to get this done. So let's just use that date.
Yeah. Would the 25th work, Matt?
Yes, that'd
Okay.
be good.
Yep. So let's do that. And then if it's all right with you, Mark and Jack, shall we just stick with the last Tuesday of the month for our meetings at 12 noon
That's
for
fine.
the calendar year?
Fine by
Okay.
me.
Okay, cool. So we'll do that. Super. Okay. Anything
Matt,
else?
we
Mm.
try to get them an updated version of the documents, but maybe the week before, like the 18th.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Yeah, and then give
Okay.
everybody plenty of time to look at all that.
Super.
All right.
'Cause
So
there's a
will
lot
you
coming your way.
guys? So will you guys draft up some responses to all of the public comments in time for us to review at that meeting? And then the idea would be to send them after.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've done is ESS put together a table of all the comments, and I added another column. I'm thinking that we don't want to put a huge, enormous amount of effort into this, but we do want to show that we heard the comment and that either it was addressed or it wasn't addressed, and if it wasn't addressed, you know, what the rationale for that was. So I'm thinking not, you know, a lot of written language on each comment, but just, you know, was it addressed, and if so, how, and if not, why? Something like that. Would that
Sounds
make
good to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Mark, Jack?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. All right. Anything else, Kim or Matt?
I'm pretty much good. Matt, did you want to add anything?
Not really. I just wanted to let the commission know that we did do another sampling event this month, so the field program continues along, and we're looking forward to doing more in January.
Great. Commissioners, is there anything else that you want to ask Kim or Matt before they hop off the meeting? No? Sounds like we're good.
Nothing
All
for
right. Well,
me.
great. Actually, Kim, the one thing maybe that would be helpful is maybe at our next meeting, you can let us know your revised estimate for your work through the end of the project as well, so we can have an idea about that.
Okay.
Super. And I just want to thank you both on behalf of the commission for the work that you guys are doing. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.
All right. So next up on the agenda, we have Mr. Bob Kenny of the Pembroke Watershed Association. So Mark, I'm going to hand it over to you because I think this was an introduction on your side. And then I'll also allow Mr. Kenny to be a panelist as well right now.
Yeah, sure. I'll keep it brief, but Mr. Kenny reached out to me a few weeks ago and notified me he had taken over the role of leading the Pembroke Watershed Association, and wanted to know, how we could best, get the group involved with the commission in order to, to work on projects and do things, together. And I thought it would be a good idea to give him some time on the agenda to introduce himself, the group, and then we can work on, any future collaboration that might be beneficial to both groups. So without any further ado, I will turn it over to Mr. Kenny.
Thank you, Mark. My name is Bob Kenny. I'm president of the Pembroke Watershed Association. I have been since July. I'm a retired Boston police detective. So I'm kind of getting my feet wet right now, learning about how the process works of trying to keep these ponds and our watershed healthy. And I've learned basically that my predecessors had done a very good job. And what we need to do is to continue that process. I mean, we're moving in the right direction, and I just want to make sure and ensure that we continue to do that. And I think partnering with folks like yourself and the other watersheds in the area will help do that.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Kenny. So I looked a little bit at the Pembroke Watershed Association's website, which has a ton of information on it. So what would you say is the priorities for your association right now?
Well, I think the biggest priority is actually finding somebody that can give us scientific direction as to what we should be doing next. That's the person I'm trying to look to. I mean, we have a company that's been hired, that's been doing the work in the background, but I think we need to find an independent source of information to make sure that what we're doing is the best and most practical thing to do in the future. And the biggest problem we have is the pond that actually affects Silver Lake, maybe on some level, is Furnace has just never really responded to any of our efforts at really trying to clean it up. Furnace has been a constant issue with the blue algae, the green algae, and I've heard rumors back and forth whether they're still pumping in the wintertime or not. Some people say that they've stopped pumping up to Silver Lake in the winter, but others are telling me they're still doing that. So it may have an impact on the water supply for Brockton also. So again, more reasons to collaborate and try to get these problems solved.
Yeah, I can't remember, Jack or Mark, maybe you guys remember. I don't think does our project include any Furnace pond monitoring at all?
It does not. It does
It does
not.
not, right?
No, it does not.
It does not.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Um,
If money were no
yeah,
object.
Well, that's true, but I think it ties into what I think of as our next step, which is to start looking at the overall water system and come up with some improvements that address some of the concerns that Bob mentioned. A lot of the withdrawals are taking place without a plan, a real plan in the past anyways, and so definitely needs to be looked at, and perhaps our consultant could be the objective scientist that helps address Bob's concerns.
So are you, so is it mostly somebody looking, so are you looking for help with your water quality monitoring and making sure that's on track and being done the right way? Or more broadly, is it kind of strategic for your watershed?
We're actually doing testing on 3 of the ponds in our watershed right now on a pretty regular basis. So I'm not worried about water quality right now because we've got a handle on that. But no, I think it's the broader picture that we're more interested in, and the direction that we should be going and continue going in.
I would suggest sharing Kimberly's information, Joanne, and as that independent voice.
Definitely.
For the Pembroke Watershed Association, and they can look at procuring her services.
Yeah, definitely. So Kimberly does water. She's a water quality expert. So on that side of things, for sure, she's definitely somebody worth hooking up. Mark, do you have her information? Do you want to share that with Mr. Kenny?
I don't know if I have it or not, but if you would send it to me, and then I'll share it with Mr. Kenny. I don't believe I have it.
Okay. I actually think, or maybe you forwarded an email from him. So maybe I do have his email address. Okay. I'll have a look after and make sure that we introduce Kim.
Or if you like, I'm more than happy to do that too, Chair.
Yeah, that would be great, Frank, if you could. Yeah, super.
I will.
Super.
Bob, are you working with the herring board too, as far as Forge Pond?
I'm associated with them, but are we talking about the Herring Commission in Pembroke?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if there's a fishery. There might be a fisheries interest as well.
There is an interest.
Some of the diversions. Yeah.
There was definitely an interest there is an interest. I have communicated with them back and forth, and you know, I mean, obviously their main interest is fisheries, but there is obviously
Yeah.
also a segue between the two because the fish are in the pond. So, you know, yes, I have talked with them. Yes.
And have you been in touch with the Jones River Watershed Association too? We actually have Pine Du Bois, your equivalent, on the meeting as well.
I've spoken to a lot of people. I'm not sure that I've spoken with Pine Du Bois. I've
Okay.
heard her name mentioned many a time.
Pine, I'm gonna allow you to talk so you can introduce yourself to Mr. Kenny. Pine, are you there?
Hi, Mr. Kenny. How are you? Pine Du Bois, Executive Director. I'm not your equivalent. I'm not the president of the organization, but
Sorry, Pine.
I do work full time on it. And you know, they haven't been pumping this year from Furnace, but you know, we had a good amount of water early, and they were taking from Aquaria for a while. I know that the herring people that are running the ladder have been very active, and so I think that put a step on some of Brockton's activities. I haven't been getting the pump reports as often as I would like, and certainly now with Charlie Sheila gone in Halifax, he was kind of keeping the ball rolling. But I think we should reach out to Brian Creedon and get him on a schedule, maybe a weekly schedule of sending us those pump reports, and let them know that, you know, that there is active interest. That's the way to get the information. Whether Brian sends it to you or not, he's kind of erratic when he works these days. But you know, certainly there's others who can you know send those out, because they make them daily at the plant. I don't think it's asking very much to say send it to us. I would encourage that. I think whatever water quality assessments that you have, if you would share those, you know, certainly with Mark and you know, I'd be interested in it, because if they do divert, we should know that. In the past, there has been, you know, significant problems coming from Furnace, and because of that, they have taken less and less and less because they could afford to went on running. But I think, you know, I think it's worth us talking together. I had suggested at some point when there was some interest, I think from the Rivers Alliance actually, and the legislature was talking about the ARPA funding, you know, what kind of projects we could think of. And I could spend all the money on that. In my mind, there should be.
We can't hear you, Pine.
I don't know why that is. So I don't think there should be diversions from Furnace Pond into Silver Lake. I don't think there needs to be. And I think that if we have a discussion and come up with a plan with the Monpont Pond Watershed Association and the Taunton River, you know, and start talking about what these upgrades would mean to the resources in the region, that now is probably the only opportunity that anyone will ever have to make those changes. So I think we better start the efforts, and I'd love to meet you. And we're having an open house tonight if you want to, you know, come on by with a mask. So, you know, but certainly in the new year, let's get together and really download some information.
That was a good point about the pump report. I haven't seen that either, and
No, I haven't.
I'm assuming that Mr. Creedon was doing that on the direction of Larry Rowley, who's not there, and maybe a reminder to Patrick Hill to have Mr. Creedon continue to send those out would be advisable.
If that request would be a weekly request, especially like you say, during the pump season, which theoretically is from October to May or through May, that would be most helpful, because that way we're engaged. We have that information, what they're doing. If there's something else going on, we have a way of reducing the looking around on what's causing it, right? But it allows us to have some better monitoring sense, even if we don't need it that often. You know, once a month at least, but certainly every week during diversion season.
Yeah, I can make that request
Thanks.
after our call today. Yeah. Jack, Mark, do you have any further? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to, Bob, if you could, or Mark, maybe you could send me Bob's email or something so that we can be in touch. That'd be great. I'm just pine@jonesriver.org. That's my email.
Okay.
So Bob, are you guys doing monitoring at Furnace or no? Is it just the
Yeah.
other ponds? You are
We're-
doing monitoring.
We're doing Oldham, Furnace, and Stetson.
Oh, that's
Oldham, Furnace, and Stetson. I wonder, I'll let Kim know as well too, because I wonder if that data would be helpful for ESS at all in their study.
the Stetson certainly would be in terms of its effect on East Monpont.
Stetson, I can tell you right now, is almost pristine. It's amazing.
Because of the bog, because the bogs are going out of commission.
Yeah, I think that's a big reason why it's doing so well. But yes, it's just the water quality is great, the clarity is great. It's come a long way in a very short period of time. Oldham is not doing as well, but it's doing better. And as we know, Furnace is it just doesn't seem to be responding well. And part of that's probably because of how shallow it is.
Well, the outlet is constrained too. I mean, the connection with Furnace is constrained. Is in Stetson, is there a structure there, or does that flow freely downstream?
I think it's free. I'm not 100% on that, though. Tell you the truth,
I haven't looked in a long time. Thanks.
I can look into it.
Jack, do you have any?
I'm sorry. We were over there this summer a couple of times, and I don't recall seeing any structures. But our vice president actually lives on Stetson, so I could speak with him and get back to you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Jack, do you have any thoughts?
No, except that I think this is great, Bob, that you've joined us today, and we definitely should work together. I think we have a lot of common interests. Now, you have the Abington Rockland Waterworks taking water from, is it Oldham Pond? Or am I wrong?
The Abington is actually, I think that's Little Sandy. That's right beside Furnace. The three of us are right beside each other. We're in walking distance to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes it.
Oldham dumps into Furnace, and I don't think Sandy is directly influenced by either one.
Yeah, there's some talk, and I have no idea whether it's accurate talk or not, about a pipe connecting Great Sandy with Little Sandy and a Rockland Abington diversion from that. I think that should be clarified. If I were you. I'm not going to clarify.
They did. I know that Rockland Abington just won a MassWorks grant to dig a new well and expand their water provision capacity. But I don't know the detail, any more detail than that. It was announced, I think, last week.
Hopefully it's in Rock.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like next steps. So Bob and Pine will connect as watershed associations. Mr. Kenny, we'd love to have you continue to be involved. All of our meetings will happen at the same time. So the last Tuesday at the month at 12 noon, if you're free.
Thank you.
I think so we're trying to get, I think, this water quality project off the ground. And then I think our plans are more ambitious to do other work in the area and look at how else we might be able to use our budget and collaborate with other people on that to try and do some other stuff in the district as well too. So we should definitely keep talking. And and Mark and Jack, it kind of occurs to me that maybe at some point maybe at the end of the first quarter, maybe our March meeting, we should have a meeting with all the watershed associations in our district. Just to kind of talk about priorities. I know that the North and South Rivers watershed group as well is in our district, and the Montponset folks. So that could be worthwhile as well. What do you guys think?
I agree with that. I firmly believe we're all stronger together. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so maybe we can put that
I
maybe
think,
on the, go ahead, Jack.
yeah, I think that's a good idea, and just we should see if we can have that meeting at the State House, and invite people from the DP to it so they can see how strong we are and how many people are protecting the resources down.
Yeah.
So,
Pine, do you know if the,
If I could, Chair, the State
ahead.
House actually is not open yet, and
On the call,
the plans are not to open for a while from our inside
Probably.
sources.
yeah,
We'd be happy to
really?
support at either here, or maybe we could meet at the city of Brockton, or some other central location. And just let me know what meeting you want to do that, and we'll gather all the information and make sure invites are sent from the commissioners.
yeah, that would be great. Pine, do you know if the Rivers Alliance people are doing a legislative advocacy day this year?
It is being planned. I don't know the date, if there's a date already.
Okay, because we could try and combine it with that. Jack, are you familiar with what they do?
Not really.
No. Pine, do you want to explain the event or what it was like?
It's a legislative breakfast where we pull everybody together into a room. Generally speaking, we get a few legislators and a house full of aides, and talk about whatever our agenda happens to be that particular year. And I'm not on the inside of the planning right now. This is the last meeting, so I can't give you as good an update as you should get, but it is usually in February, and I just have to let me follow up, and I'll be able to shoot you an email, Joanne, and when I have some clarity about that, because if there's nothing, I can't imagine that the State House is going to be open in February.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So I don't know what the alternative is going to be at this point.
Okay.
But the Watershed Action Alliance, is all of the watersheds from the Neponset south, and including the Cape. So we talk about water quality, we talk about watershed protection, fisheries, a lot of cyanobacteria and algae talk, and things like that, and how what the river systems and ponds need in order to be the resources that they should be for the Commonwealth.
Great. So maybe Frank, if we could put that on the January agenda, we can just touch base about a water groups meeting and maybe make some decisions then.
Will do.
Super. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Kenny, or from Mark or Jack?
No, yeah, I go by Bob. Bob is fine.
Bob, okay.
I feel almost like you're talking to somebody else when you say Mr. Kenny.
Great. Anything else, Mark?
Joanne,
Jack?
I'm all set, though. I would like to suggest an agenda item for our next meeting, since it'd be the new year. You've heard me talk about it a little bit, but I'd like to see next year for us to really push hard on the big picture items, coming up with some guidance and some leadership, so that we are looking forward to, as Pine mentioned, now's the time we want to start addressing the underlying issues. And we can talk about it in the next meeting. Obviously it's a lot of work, but I think you'd all agree that our consultant relationships have worked out really well, and I think we can use that to help us along in that process.
Sounds good. Mark, do you have anything to add before we move on to the next agenda item?
Negative.
All right. All right. Thank you, Bob, for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to put you back.
I'm sorry. I thought our agenda was. I thought don't have the agenda printed out. I thought we were almost done. So.
Oh no, we're about halfway through. Are you still good to stay with us?
Well, I'm good as long as I don't lose the signal. I'm in the
Okay,
wild
super.
woods here.
So
Joanna,
this-
I
yep.
have a hard stop at 1, unfortunately.
At 1. All right, so let's see what we've got going on here. So the update on the hydro dredge. So we haven't signed that MOU yet, have we? Does anybody
I
know?
think we voted to authorize its signature, as I recall.
Frank, do you remember?
Let me look through the minutes. I'm gonna have to,
Okay,
I
so I think,
do
'cause I
recall,
think-
but, and I apologize that, I
Oh,
haven't
no,
got
don't.
that.
No.
That might
No.
have slipped
Irish
through the
should be.
cracks.
yeah, we should know.
You're a big help. Frank, you're saving us all every month, so no apologies.
Things have been a little crazy. Actually, I do have the MOU right in front of, in my inbox. So, and, let's see, from the minutes before,
Well, you have a look, because I seem to recall, Jack, I think Mark and Jack,
it
I think
was,
Jack
so
was
the
running with
motion-
it. Mhm.
the motion was by Commissioner O'Leary to approve the MOU as amended and authorize Frank to sign on behalf of the commissioners.
Okay.
Commissioners so seconded the motion and it passed. So I did, I have, the second part of this is that the county will prepare the RFP for the hydro dredge, working with DMF and Pine du Bois. But I had mentioned that it probably wouldn't be done until January. And that's what's reflected in the minutes. So I actually put the whole thing off until the January meeting. But I'll,
Okay.
now we're heading to the January meeting, so I will sign the MOU and we will get that, I'll be working with Pine and Brad to get that completed.
Okay, super. And Jack, are you still the commission's go-to for this? Or, because I remember, I think you passed the ball off to Mark for a little bit.
I think I can be now, yeah.
Okay, super. So Frank, Pine,
Unless Mark wants to.
Mark?
I just think you know way more about it, Jack, so I think you're better suited to do it. Not to dump it on you, but you just have a better knowledge of the subject matter.
No problem. I don't want to
Awesome. So-
deprive you of any fun.
So Frank or Pine, if you guys need anything, Jack's your go-to for that. So, okay, anything else on the hydro dredge?
Yep, so I think, can I pump in here a little bit?
Yep, go ahead.
I'm a little confused about how we would, resolve the bid issue, that kind of thing. We have another, I got another bid from Keen Engineering on the revised, size of the pump, that kind of thing. I still don't have, I haven't included a trailer. Certainly need a trailer. I just don't know where that process is at, and I would like some clarity on that so that I don't drop a ball, because I think it's time to kind of get it going, I don't know how long it takes to tool up this stuff.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
can I
so-
suggest, Frank, can I suggest that maybe you guys, just because of the time, maybe you talk to Pine offline about this and walk
Yeah.
her through?
Yeah,
My
Pine-
understanding, it's just an RFP like we did for the quality project, right?
Correct. And Pine, I have CARES Act due Friday. That's our last day, so I will give you a call on, we're closed Monday, but I'll call you Tuesday morning.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. All right, so the next item on the agenda, so at the last meeting, we talked about diversion approvals and protocols. So this is when there's a flooding situation on Monpont and the commission and DEP need to approve Brockton to divert in order to prevent that flooding. So at the last meeting, I believe that we agreed that we would put together an MOU or some document that would outline the steps in writing, which is something that the select board of Halifax has requested. So I did speak to Brockton's DPW commissioner about that, and he didn't seem opposed to it, although I'm not sure he completely understands the commission's role in that process, so it'll be helpful to have it down on paper. So I think maybe at the January meeting, we'll just touch base on that again. Anything on that, Mark or Jack? No, okay.
I have no input on it.
Okay, Pine, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, just, I think that DEP needs to come out with its final TMDL for Monpont Pond. I don't have any water quality data from them. And I don't know who does, but if you'll recall, that's what we were talking about when they were diverting. They were supposed to grab some water quality data, whether it was done at the plant or done by somebody else. But that's your issue right there. As far as the fish were concerned, they were happy.
Yeah, and I don't know if we can get into this when we talk about it more next time, but I don't know if we'll be able to get into the actual diversion decisions or whether it's just going to end at a diversion can happen. So I think what the Halifax Select Board was requesting is they weren't sure who gets notified, which meetings need to be held, what that kind of chain of command is in order to make it happen.
As far as I'm concerned, you have the authority. They don't.
Yeah,
the town of Halifax does not have that authority to divert water into Silver Lake. Zero.
No, but they're unsure of who they should put the request to and then what kicks off next.
Well, I know what they should do. They should put the request to Brockton to keep the damn pond lower. That's what they
should do. We'll talk about it next time. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So next item, Jack or Mark, do you have anything else on that? Okay. So the next one.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I will just underscore what Pine said is that ultimately, in the past, it was the commission's authority for diversions and no one else's. We typically had an emergency meeting upon getting a request. The request went from Halifax to Brockton, then to us, and usually within 24 hours we had a meeting and it was taken care of. So it was not an issue before.
So let me clarify. I don't think it is an issue. I think what Halifax Select Board want is they just want it on paper. Because people change and it's helpful just to have a process on paper. And also in the legislation, DEP is involved. They have to authorize it as well. So, okay. Next item on the agenda, plan development process for ARPA and infrastructure funds. Frank, was that one of your items?
No, that was,
I don't remember what that is.
That actually was an offshoot of Commissioner O'Leary's big bucket discussion.
Ah.
Yes.
So
I think we can postpone this till January.
Okay. Great. So that's postponed till January. Update on Brockton water supply agreements. So again, we were going to talk about these. I don't know if you guys had a chance to review the information that I sent through, the IMAs that the city did provide to us, as well as the listing of communities that they don't have an IMA with. There's some additional documents that I've gotten a hold of in the meantime that relate mostly to Aquaria, I believe, and what can and cannot be sold, but it's kind of a bigger question. I would rather postpone this because I feel like with Mark jumping off in 10 minutes, we don't really have enough time to cover this, but is there anything that you guys wanted to talk about or comment on today?
I agree with postponing it.
Okay, so let's push that off. Do any of the commissioners have any other business?
No.
I do not.
All right, so that okay, so that brings our next meeting on January 25th. That's a Tuesday at 12 noon. We're going to stick to Zoom. We'll send out that agenda and post it as well. I think we're done. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Joanne, aye.
Mark, aye.
Jack, aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Chair, we're just
Yep.
gonna need some, thank you, everyone. Happy New Year. Chair, we'll need a new Zoom invite.
I'll do that this afternoon.
Okay?
Yep.
Great.
I'll do that. All right. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Pine, I'll give you a call after the new year. Stay well.